Hello and welcome to Love from the Other Side. If you are on this video, perhaps you too are in need of hope. We bring you stories from around the world of people who have shared their near-death experiences. I would love for you to be our newest subscriber to the channel. So if you like this type of content, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, and the bell icon will let you know when we upload new videos, which we are doing a few times per week. Let's go ahead and get started with our video. It was a gorgeous summer day and traffic was heavy on the freeway. I was driving our minivan. I was pretty stressed. My husband had just returned from out of state the night before with his mom, dad, and their 3 dogs. His dad had had a stroke the week before and they were going to stay with us while he recovered. It ended up being a whole year. I should probably tell you we had 6 children living at home between the ages of 17 through 5, and a dog of our own at the time. Life had thrown us a curve, but we were handling things as they came along. We have always taught our children that family is important. I had to pick up my paycheck so I could go food shopping before going to work at 3 p.m. I was on a tight but doable schedule. God had a different plan and a wonderful sense of humor. A car was in the median strip on the left with a flat tire, and a group of Boy Scouts was sitting on the grass. I had been going with the flow of traffic in the high-speed lane when the car in front of me slowed to go into the grassy median to help them. As I put my foot on the brake to slow down, I looked in my rearview mirror and saw the grill of a semi. Not the semi, the grill of the semi. It was literally my worst nightmare. I was horrified and panicked. I remember saying out loud, "I cannot believe I'm going to die today." It was about 3 seconds from the time I saw him until I was hit, but those 3 seconds changed my life and me completely. Immediately, time stopped. It became eternal. I was alert, oriented, and still driving through the entire process. I was out of my body, but taken out of Earth's time frame. There was no sound. All was quiet and calm. I spoke out loud through the entire conversation. With time stopping came a huge feeling of enormous love that just kept growing stronger and stronger. The panic was replaced with love that gave me such a calm feeling, and I was no longer afraid. I was being hugged, big time. I had never felt love like this before. Instinctively, I knew this was God. Think of someone who loves you dearly. Now multiply that feeling by 1,000,000 and maybe you will come close to how loved I felt. I could feel that there were also 2 others with me. I can't explain how I know this, but one was my grandmother. It took me 7 years to figure out who the other one was. I didn't know who it was at the time, and I will share this later in the story how I found out. I really wanted to cry, but there was no time. Most of us go through our lives being taught to believe in God. I was brought up in a very strict Catholic household by parents who did not live what they demanded from us. I did believe, but I was very angry with him because of my abusive childhood and life in general. Now I had been given proof, enough for me, that there really is a God. The next words out of my mouth were, "Oh shit, I screwed this up. There really is a God." I was mortified at my language and this knowledge. And quickly I said, "Oh, sorry." His reply to me was even greater love and a feeling of, "My child, calm down. Everything is just fine." I actually felt like his child, and it was a very safe and warm place. He has very loving and gentle hands. With that placed in front of me to see and feel was a life review of my life in color. I had to see and feel all the good I had done and the good I didn't even know I did. I actually could feel the joy each person felt when I touched their life in a loving way. I was getting caught doing something right for once in my life. During the good, he was telling me, "I'm so proud of you." I felt such joy for making him so proud because I never realized what it felt like, because I always felt like I couldn't do anything right. Reviewing my random acts of kindness gave me the most joy because I was able to feel the difference I made in someone's life that I had not realized at the time, and I didn't even know them. Little acts of kindness mean so much to God. Also, I had to see and feel all the hurtful things I had done, even the hurtful things I didn't know I did. I had to feel the other person's hurt I caused. But you know how they say in prayer that we will stand before God and be judged one day? God was not judging me. I was looking at my actions, with God at my side loving me while I was judging myself. And believe me, no one can judge me any harsher than I already judge myself. It was like getting caught by parents when you're doing something wrong. During the hurtful review, I was so ashamed and there was no hiding. He was asking me, what different choices could you have made? What are you learning from this? Not yelling at me and saying, how could you do that? You're going to hell. This was clearly not the punishing God I had been taught to believe in. The hardest part of this was realizing He had already forgiven me. I was having a hard time forgiving myself. He showed me how I couldn't let His love in without first forgiving myself. Punishing myself didn't make me better in His eyes. Accepting His love was what He wanted from me. Once I was able to accept that God only loved, it was easier for me to accept and honestly look at my life. I wanted to learn as much as I could. I had so many questions. God loves me the way I love my children. Even when they do something wrong, I still love them. I'm not happy with their actions, but it doesn't change my love for them. I hurt for them, and I make them take responsibility for their actions. I had taken parenting classes and read all I could find so I wouldn't make the same mistakes my parents did raising kids. He showed me that even though I wasn't physically abusing my kids, I was killing them with my words. That is just as bad. I could feel their pain. I felt like such a failure. I just kept repeating, I'm so sorry, over and over again. And He just kept loving me. When the life review was over, He placed in front of me why I came to earth. I was so amazed. I was floored at how important we all are to God, especially how important I was to God. I didn't think He knew I even existed. All the years I was beating myself up, and His question to me was, why would I go through all the trouble to make you just the way you are if I wanted you to try and be like someone else? No one else could do the job I came here to do the way He wanted me to do it. That's why it's so important that we not be so judgmental of each other. Some of us are here to teach, some to learn, and some to do both. He let me ask questions. My first one was, how could He give me the parents I had? I was shown why I had the parents, childhood, and life I had. I asked for it. It was so clear to me I had to go through all that to learn what I needed and to be able to continue my work here. I was making a lot of wrong choices because I wasn't listening to or trusting myself. I was doing what I thought I was supposed to be doing. I felt like a little mouse in a maze trying to find my way, but I wasn't getting anywhere. I understood that the earth is school, and when we are done, we get to take a final exam, the life review, and then we get to graduate and go back home. Everything made so much sense. The lesson was so simple. It's all about love, how much God loves us, and how well we love ourselves and others. He finally showed me what I still had left to do. I remember saying matter-of-factly, I can do that, and I really wanted to do it. I believe I was shown this to help me make a decision, because the next thing in front of me was, do you want to stay or go? Wow, I get a choice? Even though the good far outweighed my bad and I wanted to stay in His loving embrace, I desperately needed to fix the hurtful things if I had a chance to. I didn't want to leave so many things undone before I had to leave. I also wanted to live on this earth knowing that God loved me. I replied almost in a whisper and very, very reluctantly, but I have to stay. My only regret is that I said that statement so fast because the second I said that, the whole movie in front of me closed up and my conversation with God was over. 1 second, I was having a wonderful visit with God, my grandmother, and a friend from the other side. I could even picture us having a cup of coffee together during this conversation. Only my hands were gripped tightly on the steering wheel of the van. I was still driving and I was thinking. I cannot believe this is happening to me. I couldn't believe how much I had learned in 3 seconds. I had so many unanswered questions. I wanted more time. I wanted more love. I did not want this to end. I couldn't believe all the things my brain could do at one time. I was disappointed that I didn't get to see the light because I could feel the edges all around me, but I had made my choice. Suddenly, it was over. I was literally pushed back into reality, Earth's time. Everything but his love, my grandmother, and my friend was gone. I was told, take your foot off the brake and floor the gas. I didn't ask any questions, and I did just as I was told. As I hit the car in front of me, the semi hit me. I clipped the car, and it sent safely into the median. The truck did not jackknife. I drove about 100 feet more and went into the median and stopped because I wasn't sure what was going to happen, and I didn't want to be in the middle of it. The thing I want to stress here is that if I had said I wanted to go, I would have been gone before the accident ever happened. My family would have thought I died a horrible death being run over by a semi. The reality was that my body would have died a horrible death, not me. At the point of impact, I was still being hugged safely in my cocoon of God's love. I did not feel the accident at all. It was a different story a few hours later. I refused to go to the hospital because I felt fine. Never make that stupid decision. It's always a good idea to be checked out after an accident. I sat in my van with the whole back blown out of it. I kept hugging myself because I didn't want to lose the feeling of tremendous love I had been given by God, because it was still with me. I was so afraid to look back and see what happened. Being a nurse, I felt it was my duty to help with the injured, but I just couldn't handle one more thing. I have no idea how long it took for the police to get there, but when the policeman opened the door of my van, I was still trying to breathe. I burst into tears. The cocoon of love evaporated when he opened the door. It took him a while to figure out I was physically unhurt. The feeling of God's love is just a memory now, and emotionally I fell apart. His comment was, I don't know how you did it, but you saved a lot of lives today because no one is hurt. I couldn't tell him what happened. It was just hard for me to believe it myself. For once in my life, I was speechless, and that does not happen very often to me. Hours after the accident, I started to hurt all over my body and couldn't move my neck. My husband took me to the emergency room that night. The doctor was surprised I only had whiplash. The staff was marveling at why I was still here. I knew exactly why I was still here. I chose it. I didn't say one word to anybody, not even my husband, because I knew if I told them what had happened to me, they would admit me to the psychiatric floor. I didn't think anyone would believe me. Also, I said earlier that I was clearly shown my purpose here on earth and the work I had left to do during my life review. When the accident was over, I couldn't remember why I chose to come here or what I had left to do. It's still right on the tip of my tongue. The knowledge was taken away from me as soon as I said I have to stay. So I am back to a little mouse in a maze with everybody else trying to find my way. When things get really tough, I remember what I said that day. I can do it. It keeps me grounded and moving forward. I know for a fact that God is really watching me, and I love to make him proud. I keep a first grade picture of myself at my bedside table to remind me every morning that I am a child of God. When I am faced with a difficult situation, I stop for a second to decide what I'm going to do because I do not want to review it in a hurtful way again. I'm not perfect, but I try really hard to do the right thing. As a postscript, you need to know that my husband totaled my car 7 days before this accident with me in the car. We both walked away from that accident unhurt. There was no near-death experience for either one of us that day. I was still pretty upset with him about losing the car. It was my first car, the one I picked out, and the registration had my name on it. I loved that car. Talk about screwed up priorities. If he had not totaled my car, instead of driving an Astrovan, I would have been driving a Mazda 323. This is just more proof of why I have to believe that everything happens for a reason. There would have been no choices that day. That semi would have gone right over the top of me. Before the accident, I had a hard time praying, and now I talk to him the same way I carry on a conversation with anybody else, anytime and anywhere. In fact, after the first accident, a week before the truck accident, I walked out to the middle of my yard. I screamed at the sky. I know they say that God doesn't give us more than we can handle, but you're blowing it big time right now. So just come down here and tell me what you want me to do, and I will do it so you can leave me the hell alone. I really had no idea God was listening to me. So be careful what you ask for, because I found out very unexpectedly just how much he cared about me. I don't scream at him anymore. I understand what he was trying to tell me now. I received his answer loud and clear. The whole year after my accident was probably one of the hardest years of my life, and I often wondered why I was stupid enough to stay here and not leave when I had the chance. I kept yelling at myself, "What the heck were you thinking?" Now looking back at what I learned and how blessed I am so glad I stayed. When I see the rays of sun stream through the clouds, which to me is the Holy Spirit, sometimes I get really homesick. To me, God is the light. That is Him reminding me to remember how much He loves me and how I am never alone. One day I'll get back to Him forever. Until then, I plan on having a good time. I look at every obstacle as an adventure now, and I'm always looking for the lesson. It's a wonderful game. Life is so much easier this way. Probably the toughest thing for me after my NDE and working with the dying is that I am a church orphan. It is so difficult for me to sit still during Mass and not stand up and scream, "No, you guys, he's lying. This isn't how it works." I've tried quite a few different religious services, but I haven't found one that feels like home. Actually, I feel like I go to church about 12 hours, 2 days a week at work. I would love to find a church where other people understand what I understand. About my friend from the accident. 2 days after the accident, with a cervical collar on and a very sore body, I went to church. I had some serious thinking to do. Before Mass, a lady came up to me and asked me about my accident. One of her questions was, "Who was with you?" I replied timidly, God and my grandmother." She smiled and asked, "Who else?" I was very reluctant to tell her, but I told her about my mystery friend from the other side anyway. She didn't think I was nuts and told me I could find out their name by asking. I was very skeptical, but I felt much better after talking with her. After Mass, another lady I didn't know came up to me and asked me about the accident. We had almost the same conversation. I was not the only one who has had this happen. We were connected by a shared experience, a near-death experience. They knew what I knew. They both had the names of the person with them. Well, I asked on a daily basis for a while and finally gave up trying to get the name of this person who is actually still with me. 7 years later, I was watching a TV program that was about near-death experiences. They explained in a different way of asking a name. The night before I went to bed and I asked out loud to be given a name in a dream, and please help me remember it in the morning. My brain woke up first before my eyes, and I had a name in my head just like the conversation I had with God during my life review. I was given the name Amy. How I knew this was real is that when I tried to argue with it, it just kept getting louder and more insistent in my head. The more I am open to the possibility of help from the other side, the more help I am given. I stopped trying to explain everything away. I talk to Amy all the time. If you are not sure if you have someone with you, let me explain it this way. When I am having a problem with something, I go to sleep and I dream about it. When I wake up in the morning, I have an answer to my problem. That is Amy helping me. There are still a lot of times that I don't even have to go to sleep to get an answer now. Her help has been and still is priceless to me. I look forward to seeing her again one day. I'd like to thank you for spending your time here today. And until next time, God bless.